Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Community Development Committee meeting of the Metropolitan Council. I'm Committee Chair Robert Lilligren for Monday, August 16th. Before calling the meeting to order, just remind folks that COVID-19 is still causing us to alter our procedures. The Metropolitan Council Chair has determined it's not practical or prudent to conduct in-person committee meetings in response to COVID-19 pandemic. Accordingly, that council members will participate in this meeting by phone or other electronic means. And this Community Development Committee meeting will be conducted under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021. This meeting is conducted by WebEx. It'll be recorded. Members of the public will be able to monitor this meeting by going to the agenda online to view the live stream of the meeting. The video is embedded right there at the Met Council website along with the agenda. We'll do a roll call for each business item. WebEx has a written chat function. Committee members, please only use that function to address technical difficulties, like if you can't hear. Um, for council members, staff, and guests who may be uh, speaking, we'll communicate with each other through speaking, and this ensures that even people listening to the recording can hear all comments. So if there are no questions prior to starting, I will call this meeting to order and we will establish a quorum with a roll call. Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. I did receive advance notice that Councilmember Musse will not be attending today. So
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
will start with Atlas Ingebrigtsen, Chambliss,
Here.
Cummings,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Lilligren,
Here.
Lindstrom,
Here.
Bento,
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We have a quorum and can continue on. In our agenda, the first item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Members and guests, you can see the posted agenda on the Met Council website. If there are no objections or changes to the agenda, then we can move on to our business. Any changes or amendments to the agenda? Cool, hearing none. The next item on our agenda is the minutes from the August 2nd regular Community Development Committee meeting. And I would entertain a motion to approve, please.
Wolf moves approval.
Thank you,
Johnson
Councilmember.
seconds.
Thank you, council members. Any discussion, addition, corrections?
Excuse me, I did not hear who's second.
Was
Johnson. Okay, thank
Johnson,
you.
Councilmember Johnson. Yep. Cool. Hearing no discussion, Michelle, please call the roll on the minutes.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. Atlas Ingebrigtsen, Chambliss, Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. That is adopted and the minutes are approved. And first business item on our agenda is 2021-214. It's a public hearing for the 2022 Annual Public Housing Agency Plan. And I see we do have guests here, so welcome. Um, the Met Council, as an administrator of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Housing Choice Voucher Program, our HRA is required to, our Housing and Redevelopment Authority is required to prepare and submit an annual update to its public housing agency plan. The plan serves as a guide to the Metro HRA programs, policies, operations, and strategies for serving the needs of very low and extremely low income households. The plan is intended to be a convenient source of information for program participants, the federal government, and the general public. The annual Public Housing Authority plan is the subject of this hearing today. As noted at the opening of today's meeting, due to COVID-19, this public hearing will occur in this electronic format. So at this time on our agenda, we welcome public comment. I think we have 3 people pre-registered to speak, and I'll call your name And staff will unmute your line when it's time to make your comments. Please keep your comments, individuals 3 minutes, organizational representatives 5 minutes, a 3 to 5 minute range. When you speak, please state your name, place of residence, and the organization you represent, if any. When you're finished, you can leave this meeting if you like and watch through our stream on the YouTube channel. Please state your name for the record. I said all that already. Let's see. Okay, so starting on our list, we have 3 people signed up, and then I'll certainly open it to further comments. The first person that we have signed in to speak is my old friend, Lee Blons. She is the CEO and president of Beacon Interfaith. Lee, welcome. And can we unmute Ms. Blons, please? Is that you, Greg? There. Thanks, Lee. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Lilligren and council members. I am the CEO and president of Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm here to testify on the annual plan that's being proposed to HUD. We would ask that you amend, amend the plan proposed by staff. We ask that you specifically commit to providing project-based vouchers as part of the plan for 2022. I have 3 points that I wish to make today. The role of an annual plan, the community development role of the Met Council, and the importance of this specific resource to break through racial segregation in our region. As far as we understand, this is an annual plan, but it appears to use very generic language. From our perspective, it says that the Met Council may do project-based vouchers or may not. We ask you to actually engage in the annual planning on the resources available for regional affordable housing development. In the discussions that we've had with many of you, you've shared that it's not always clear to you when and how you have an opportunity to influence Met Council policy and practice. As I understand it, you are required to vote on this annual plan. So we ask you to not just check a box for HUD, but to actually engage in conversation with each other in the community on this precious resource. We know the Met Council values community engagement. We applaud the engagement of the Resident Advisory Council that we understand was facilitated by staff. We would lift up that staff could also facilitate input from others in the community as well, nonprofit organizations, mayors, county staff. It's our experience that they will not choose to testify unless explicitly invited for testimony. Given the power that the Met Council wields as a funder, they can be intimidated to testify in what is perceived to be in opposition to the staff recommendation. As part of this annual plan process, I ask you to step into your full role as the community development planning of the Met Council for the whole region. I believe an important part of your perspective is guiding the overall development through the comprehensive plan for the region. You devote significant resources to working with all of the municipalities to developing and approving the comprehensive plan that specifically sets affordable goals for each community, affordable housing goals. We commend you for explicitly naming the goal of creating homes that are affordable at 30% area median income, the lowest income people in our communities. Given the disparate income of BIPOC communities, this is an important step in naming the changes necessary for Black, Indigenous, and people of color to have an opportunity to live in the community of their choice. I would ask you that you have staff report to you what is the total number of homes affordable at or below 30% area median income that you have set for your goals in the comprehensive plan? And what are the resources necessary to reach that goal? I don't know of any affordable housing expert that would say that homes can be created at or below 30% area median income without a rent subsidy. The Met Council is the primary and in many communities, the sole provider of rent subsidy in the whole region outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul. You have an opportunity, and dare I say, a responsibility to make available rent subsidies to support communities in reaching the goals that you and they have mutually agreed upon. Minneapolis and St. Paul PHAs regularly provide project-based vouchers to encourage the development of deeply affordable homes in their cities. If you don't offer vouchers, you will drive all deeply affordable and supportive housing development to be only in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The choice is yours. Predictability matters to all developers. I want to be clear that Beacon's not asking for all rent vouchers to be project-based. We support the both and approach that HUD sets. HUD requires that 85% of the vouchers remain for scatter site homes. And if staff have explained, providing project-based vouchers is not a break from past practice. However, we ask that you explicitly make this commitment. We're asking you to move toward full utilization of the flexibility that HUD provides to you to project-based 15% of the vouchers. We understand that moving toward 15% is based on the vouchers being turned in each year, so it won't happen overnight. But we do believe that the annual plan could explicitly and should explicitly state that project basing will occur to support the comprehensive plan of the Met Council, and then develop a plan for the number of vouchers to be made available each year to reach that 15% allowed by HUD. Knowing that they will be available next year and every year will drive regional development. In the hot real estate market that we're in currently, a nonprofit organization like mine has to take significant financial risk. We need to purchase $1 million piece of property that is dependent on managing through the myriad of capital, rent subsidy, and service funding to create a new supportive housing development. Vista 44 Family Supportive Housing in Hopkins received MHFA funding after 3 years, only after you made project-based vouchers available. Prairie Point, the first of any major homeless housing in Scott County, is stuck in development delays due to a lack of rent subsidy. And now I wish to bring to your attention the desire to create family supportive housing in the East Metro. It is desperately needed to help families exit homelessness and the child welfare system. But where should we locate it? We're excited that Ramsey County is stepping up to the plate with an HRA levy this year, which will bring new resources. They're interested in fostering deeply affordable homes in the suburbs and breaking down economic barriers that keep Black, Indigenous, and people of color being able to have choice in the community. But I'm in a discussion with my board and staff right now. If we choose the St. Paul location, it's a slam dunk to get rent subsidy and therefore MHFA funding. Or do we dare to take the risk to select a suburban location and create choice for families exiting homelessness? Can we count on the Met Council, on you being a partner in this process? I want to be clear that we love the capital funding that you make available, but the most important resource that you have is your rent subsidy. We understand from staff that project basing creates an administrative burden with limited resources. Perhaps as you put together your annual plan, including your budget, you think creatively about how you invest your resources most wisely and how you have the greatest fair housing impact. I don't know what HUD allows, but perhaps you could even charge us, the housing developer, for the administrative costs. Let's think outside the box to solve what appears to be a minor issue to meet the hefty goals that you've set for regional affordable housing development. As I wrap up, I just want to lift up that we believe this is a fair housing issue. I hope that you have all read the recent Star Tribune article on the impact of zoning on the segregation that we experience in the Twin Cities. These NIMBY zoning fights are the ones that Beacon and other nonprofit housing developers are willing to take on if you give us the resources. When someone on the wait list gets a voucher, around 35 to 40% of them will turn that voucher back to you because they can't find a landlord willing to accept their voucher, perhaps for economic reasons, or perhaps out of prejudice, or perhaps because of a past eviction on their record. Another significant percent will utilize.
Excuse me, Ms. Luns, I just want to let you know you're running almost 8 minutes, so I'm sorry to have to let you know that.
All right, may I have just a sentence or two to finish?
Yep, go for it, Lee.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yeah,
How many speakers do we have, Mr. Chair?
3 on the list.
And how much time are we planning to give for the public hearing?
So we asked the speakers 3 minutes individual, 5 minutes if they're representing an organization.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Go for it, Lee.
Thank you. I apologize for running long. Another significant percentage will utilize the vouchers within Minneapolis and St. Paul rather than in the suburban, exurban communities, perhaps out of choice or perhaps due to discrimination in the suburbs. When you project-based vouchers in a housing development in the suburbs, specifically designed to welcome people with low income and people who've experienced eviction, you can affirmatively break down the systemic barriers built into our inequitable housing system. When you project-based vouchers for supportive housing, you create a new system that embraces choices, recognizes that homelessness is regional, and that the government's role is to change systems, not perpetuate them. Please support a HUD annual plan that commits to project-based vouchers next year. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ms. Blantz, for your testimony and for being here today and for all the work that you do in the affordable housing community in our region. Moving through the speakers list, next on the list, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, is Teresa Delata. Teresa, welcome. Ms. Delata.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And yes, you did get my name right. My name is
Oh, good.
Teresa. My name is Teresa Delata, and I'm a renter in Southwest Minneapolis. I'm a leader with Beacon and an active member of my parish, St. Joan of Arc Catholic community. I've also been homeless 8 or 9 times and currently pay over 72% of my income towards market rate 1-bedroom apartment. I just got on the Section 8 choice voucher wait list in 2019 with Minneapolis Housing Authority. I called last week to update my information, and the representative said that they are just starting to issue choice vouchers for individuals who got accepted to the wait list in 2008. At the beginning of this year, a group of Beacon leaders began working with Met Council members to determine the process to award project-based vouchers to affordable housing developments in the Twin Cities. Last year, Prairie Point and Shakopee received 42 of those vouchers, which were conditional upon a housing award from Minnesota Housing. We knew that if we didn't get that award in 2020, we would need to come back in 2021, and we came back. In March, we found out the process and timeline from the Metro HRA, which included no new project-based vouchers issued for 2021. After meeting with Met Council members in late April through early June, this committee determined there would be no project-based vouchers this year, but would look into this important issue again in August. Even as late as today, August 16th, we have been meeting with Met Council members on the critical issue of project-based vouchers. As a person who is on a wait list for a Section 8 choice voucher, which many landlords are not accepting, I was disappointed and disheartened by the limited choices before public officials at this time. I understand that project-based vouchers may take away from Section 8 choice vouchers, but I do not feel we need to be pitted against one another. I was enraged because I believe that all people deserve a home before, during, and after a pandemic. And I am enraged because reality remains at this time that a lot of landlords are not taking Section 8 choice vouchers, and the wait list is incredibly long. That means those vouchers from the Met Council that were issued still may not get used this year to ensure the most vulnerable in our communities have a safe and secure home. To me, I'm willing to wait on the list and work on affordable housing developments like Prairie Point if it means a project-based voucher will secure supportive housing for a single parent with children in a neighboring community. Tonight, each of you on the Met Council have the power to make that choice too. Met Council can secure housing for families at Prairie Point and future supportive housing developments like them across the Twin Cities. I urge you to amend the PHA to make 200 project-based vouchers eligible for 2022 and make a permanent commitment to project-based vouchers for every year to come. That would make my birthday wish come true as I turn 47 today. Thank you.
Ms. Delata, thanks so much for being here and for your testimony. Happy birthday to you as well. Thanks for your very informed remarks. Next on this list for speakers in the public hearing is Dana Kennedy. Ms. Kennedy, welcome. And Ms. Kennedy, are you there? I saw you earlier. Can we unmute Ms. Kennedy's microphone, please?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me today. My name is Dana Kennedy, and I live at 1606 Minnehaha Avenue, West St. Paul, 55104. I'm a member of Unity Church Unitarian's Affordable Housing Team in St. Paul, and I'm a leader with Beacon. When Ted Mondale was the chair of the Met Council, I was hired as the first communications manager of the very first light rail line. I loved representing the Met Council's bold leadership on such an important project to so many people. Getting to work, visiting family, it's fundamental. But even closer to my heart is housing. And I have to tell you, I have never told this part of my story publicly before. When my father died, my mother moved all five of us into a two-bedroom apartment filled with cockroaches, silverfish, and weevils. I moved every year from third grade through 10th grade. Then something magical happened. A brand new 20-story government subsidized housing building was completed. My mother qualified and she moved all five of us 27 miles to a brand new community. My younger sisters got to finish elementary school, middle school, and high school in the same home at the same address. What a different, more stable childhood they had from mine. We all know about the waiting lists, as Teresa shared, the pros and cons of individual vouchers, the pros and cons of project-based vouchers. But it's not one type of voucher versus the other. As some council members have said, we can have both. My family is the result of the stability afforded by the type of projects spearheaded by Beacon. Families like mine will move to a new community and build a new stable life. It adds more choice for families like mine who want to get away from the communities that we had to choose to live in due to the lack of other choices. Excuse me. Some families will prefer individual vouchers, and that's fine. But please keep project-based vouchers alive. Please create a dependable allotment of project-based vouchers so that families can stop moving around like I did as a child, from one disgusting apartment building to the next disgusting apartment building. You are the keepers of the project-based vouchers. Please let us as families have access to them, those of us who want them. Please build them into the 2022 plan. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy, for your testimony and sharing your story with us today. Those were the three speakers that I had signed in. Is there anyone else here today that came to testify in the public hearing on the annual public housing agency plan for 2022? Anyone else? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you all for attending and for your testimony. Also, to remind people that public comments can be received through August 31st, 2021 by 4:30 p.m. And as a reminder to comment on the annual Public Housing Authority plan, members of the public may still provide comment by writing to us at our headquarter address 390 Robert Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota 55101. You can fax comments to the Met Council at 651 602 1313. And you can email the council at data.center@metc.state.mn.us. That's data.center@metcouncil, metc.state.mn.us. Or you can record a comment on the public comment line at 651 602 1500 or TTY at 651 291 0904. After the close of the public comment process, our staff will prepare a summary of public comments, and the council will have the opportunity to review those comments prior to council action on the Public Housing Authority plan. So the public hearing is now closed. Thank you. And we will move on in our agenda to the other business items. The next is the consent agenda. There's just two items on this agenda that staff has determined are routine and non-controversial. It's the City of Waconia Waterford Additions Comprehensive Plan Amendment and the Housing Trust Fund Program Grant Review Board Resolution. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
Vento moves.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Cummings,
Wolf
second.
seconds.
Okay, a couple of them. Thank you, council members, for the seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion, hearing none. Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. I'm gonna start with Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. The consent agenda is adopted, and we'll move on to our non-consent business items. The first is 2021-206. It's the Bruce Vento Regional Trail Master Plan Amendment by Ramsey County, our implementing agency, and Colin Kelly is here to present. Welcome, Mr. Kelly.
You. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. As was stated, I am Colin Kelly, planning analyst, and I'm here to present the Bruce Vento Regional Trail Master Plan Amendment on behalf of Ramsey County. Next slide, please. Ramsey County portion of the Bruce Vento Regional Trail is located near the center of the regional park system on the east side of Ramsey County. The figures on the left and in the center are figures 1 and 2 in the staff report. The Ramsey County portion of the trail is the focus of this plan amendment. It includes segments 2B, 2C, 3, and 4 in the figure on the right. This is figure 3 in the staff report. This plan amendment does not address the City of St. Paul's portion of the Vento Trail, which is south of Larpenteur Avenue. Next slide, please. Public, stakeholder, and agency engagement for Ramsey County's portion of the Vento Trail occurred over the course of several years. For segments 2B and 2C, the project team coordinated engagement activities with Rushline Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT, project staff and implemented both traditional engagement opportunities and opportunities specifically tailored to the diverse communities living in the corridor. The project team strived to connect with historically underrepresented communities living and working near the trail corridor and prioritized events to attend using lenses of equity, inclusivity, maximizing voices heard, and geographic representation. Participants in this engagement prioritized safety and security along the trail, supported the use of landscaping to provide as much separation from the BRT as possible, and supported the advantages of connecting communities in northern Ramsey County to St. Paul, both through a multimodal trail and through its connection with the Rushline BRT. Segments 3 and 4, 2 public open houses were held in May 2016. Public meetings provided an opportunity for residents and other stakeholders to provide input on the proposed alignments and design considerations for a future extension of the regional trail. Ramsey County initiated a planning study in 2018 to refine alternative trail alignments and held 2 engagement meetings in October of that year. A final open house meeting was held in 2019, and comments received informed the preferred and alternative alignments of the regional trail. Next slide, please. Ramsey County maintains close working relationships with the public agencies along the trail corridor, including the cities of St. Paul, Maplewood, White Bear Lake, and Vagnus Heights, as well as White Bear Township. Ramsey County also coordinates with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and watershed organizations with jurisdiction over construction activities. Generally, any planning activities that relate to the trail corridor are coordinated with the appropriate agency staff for input and feedback. As part of the development of plans for Segment 3, the county convened a project management team consisting of representatives from White Bear Lake, Vagnus Heights, White Bear Township, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, or BNSF, Railway, Ramsey County Public Works, and Rushline Leadership. This group provided feedback and direction on plan alignment alternatives, typical section details, and identified planned local projects for consideration in the design of Segment 3 of the trail. Next slide, please. According to the plan amendment, Ramsey County recognizes its role and responsibility in advancing racial and health equity within the county. Planning for the regional trail included multiple rounds of community engagement to ensure the trail alignment will meet the needs of the communities that it seeks to serve. Preliminary studies for the regional trail also included identification of low income and Black, Indigenous, and people of color, or BIPOC populations within the county that would be served directly by the trail, and the enhanced multimodal access to those communities that are more likely to not own a car. The figure on the right is figure 6 on the staff report. Regional trail will benefit people with low incomes, BIPOC populations, those with disabilities, youth, and elders by providing a safe, multi-use trail that connects housing, shopping, schools, jobs, services, and transit facilities. And because the trail is directly linked to Rushline BRT, the trail will provide improved transit access to communities and businesses around Frost Avenue, Highway 36, Interstate 694, and elsewhere. Next slide, please. The development concept for the regional trail can generally be broken down into 3 main segments: the Rushline collaboration, or segments 2B and 2C, Berkeley Road to White Bear Avenue extension, or segment 3, and a future extension, or segment 4. We'll start with the Rushline collaboration and move to segments 3 and 4 in the next 2 slides. Portions of the regional trail will run adjacent to the Rushline BRT. The figure at the bottom of the slide is figure 4 in the staff report. From Larpenteur Avenue to Berkeley Road, the trail will be reconstructed and realigned. Further north, from Whitaker Street to White Bear Avenue, a BRT station will be constructed along a short segment of new trail. Reconstructed trail segments will provide access to adjacent BRT stations, including updated Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA infrastructure, landscaping, and stormwater management facilities. Next slide, please. Next up is Berkeley Road to White Bear Avenue, or segment 3. This is the first of 2 segments that will eliminate about half of the remaining 6-mile gap in the regional trail system in this area. Along with segment 4, this almost 3-mile segment is key to making a future connection with the Hardwood Creek Regional Trail in Washington County, and is being designed and constructed separately from the Rushline BRT project. Detailed design work for this segment has been completed and is planned for construction in 2024 or 2025, depending on funding availability. The proposed trail will use about a half mile of existing BNSF Railroad right-of-way, with the remaining portion, about 2.2 miles, constructed within Ramsey County right-of-way. Trail amenities envisioned as a part of Segment 3 construction include wayfinding, rest areas with benches and trash cans, landscaping for buffers, and vegetation replacement. During the design process, guiding principles included providing a trail that meets ADA and other accessibility goals, reducing impacts to vegetation and other natural features, providing interesting and diverse trail user experiences, and providing opportunities to improve adjacent community infrastructure like drainage and roadways. Next slide, please. Ramsey County is currently planning the second of 2 segments that will eliminate the trail gap in the regional trail system to the Ramsey and Washington County border. This segment extends from Whitaker Street in White Bear Lake north to County Road J. Between Whitaker Street and Highway 96, the trail is planned to be within the Lincoln Avenue right-of-way and adjacent to the BNSF Railroad corridor. The figure at the bottom of the slide is figure 5 in the staff report. For the remainder of this segment, from Highway 96 to County Road J, 8 different routes and alignments were studied over a 2-year period. A big part of this study was investigating the feasibility of locating the trail within or adjacent to the BNSF right-of-way and Highway 61 corridor through the heart of downtown White Bear Lake, a consistent choice expressed by many in the community. However, it was concluded that there were no feasible solutions for locating the trail within either of these spaces. Quote-unquote Route 1 was identified as the preferred route through the downtown area for connection to Hugo Road. Specific details on the preferred and an alternative trail corridor are described on the bottom of page 9 in the staff report. Funding has not yet been secured for implementation of Segment 4. The county is actively exploring potential funding opportunities to construct all or portions of this segment. Next slide, please. Total estimated cost of acquisitions in segments 3 and 4 is between $71,000 and $421,000. The variability in this estimate is because the final alignment of segment 4 has not been established. The total estimated cost associated with the construction and maintenance of segments 3 and 4 is $15,810,000. You may have noticed I didn't mention any costs related to segments 2B or 2C. That is because any acquisition, development, or redevelopment in these segments will be completed under the Rush Line BRT project, meaning no cost to Ramsey County Parks and Recreation for these specific facets of implementation. That said, the plan amendment includes an estimated annual operating budget of $64,400 for the full extent of Ramsey County's portion of the trail. Altogether, the total estimated cost associated with this plan amendment is between $15,945,400 and $16,295,400, which includes the first year of operating costs. And I should note, approval of this master plan amendment does not commit the council to any funding at this time. Next slide, please. The Bruce Bento Regional Trail Master Plan Amendment is consistent with the requirements of the 2040 Regional Parks Policy Plan, particularly Planning Strategy 1, Master Plan requirements, as well as Planning Strategy 2, Enhanced Multimodal Access, which is referenced in the rationale section of the staff report. The Master Plan Amendment is also consistent with other council policies, such as those found in Thrive MSP 2040. Next slide, please. Proposed action before you then is that the Metropolitan Council approve Ramsey County's Bruce Bento Regional Trail Master Plan Amendment, inform Ramsey County that when Segment 4 alignments have been finalized, it must submit a future Master Plan Amendment to update regional trail boundaries and acquisition costs, and require Ramsey County, prior to initiating any new development of the regional trail corridor, to send preliminary plans to the Metropolitan Council's Environmental Services Division Assistant Manager. I should note that the Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission voted unanimously to approve the proposed action at its meeting on August 5th. And with that, I will stand for any comments or questions you may have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your report and for your work on this and for your team's work. It's a years-long effort, right? So, committee members, questions on that report? Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you for this updated information. It's just nice to see how this project is moving along. A couple questions on the equity analysis. The regional trail benefits. Do we have some numbers with regard to how many of the BIPOC visitors that use the current routes would be impacted, and potentially how many are projected to use the amended routes based on the changes? Just want to know what the impact might be.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Councilmember Chambliss. As far as I understand, the master plan amendment does not include those specific numbers of BIPOC users of current routes of the Bruce Bento Regional Trail in Ramsey County versus the projected number of users of that route in the future. It includes more general demand forecast numbers for the trail, given population projections for Ramsey County and given current use for or near current use of the Bruce Vento Regional Trail, but it doesn't specifically call out the number of BIPOC users along the trail corridor to date, or in the recent past, nor does it speak to what the projected number of users for the future trail alignments would be.
Yeah, Councilmember Chambliss, please.
Thank you for that response. I think it would be really good to start plans for measuring impacts, especially when we say that we want to benefit a particular community or a particular corridor. I think it's really important to do an assessment of where we are today. So, and then when we have some projections, we can see how our project performed. So if we could maybe have somebody gather that information based on current usage by BIPOC residents and non-BIPOC residents, I think that would be very helpful for future analysis.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further discussion on Mr. Kelly's report? Further discussion? Great. Seeing none, Mr. Kelly has proposed a series of 3 actions related to the approval of the Bruce Vento Regional Trail Master Plan Amendment, and I would entertain a motion to approve, please.
Move by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second? A second.
Johnson seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Great. Hearing none. Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento.
Aye. Or excuse me, abstain.
Thank you. That's what I was expecting. Thank you. And Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great.
And Mr.
That
Chair,
motion is adopted. Yeah, Councilmember Bento.
I'm sorry, Murphy's got some opinions here too, but I just want to indicate that I'm going to have a conversation with General Counsel about my abstentions on the Vento Trail and Vento sanctuary items. There is no conflict of interest. There's other than the name, and I think we're getting to a point where it's kind of ridiculous for me to abstain. So I just thought I'd give you a heads up that I'm gonna probably start weighing in more. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate the heads up. Thanks, Councilmember.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, was that Councilmember Johnson? I didn't. Yeah,
Yes,
Councilmember
Mr.
Johnson.
Chair. I just really want to thank Councilmember Vento for raising that. I don't think there's a conflict either, and it's a proud moment for everybody, and it's an even prouder moment for you, and you should be able to participate. So, thank you.
Great. Beautifully said. And I agree. And it's actually kind of nice as a committee member to have someone with the same name on our committee as we talk about these Vento Trail and Vento Sanctuary actions. So thanks for following up with that, Councilmember Vento. Great. We will move on to our final business item for today. It's item 2021-212. It's the City of Farmington VDOT Development Comprehensive Plan Amendment. And Patrick Boylan is here to present. Welcome, Mr. Boylan.
Thank you, Chair Lilligren. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Next slide, please. Well, my name is Patrick Boylan, and I'm a sector representative in local planning assistance, and I'll be talking to you about this amendment before us today. As shown as figure 2 of the staff report, Thrive MSP 2040 gives the City of Farmington a community designation of emerging suburban edge, and the area affected by this amendment is shown in red in the lower central portion of the community. Next slide, please. As shown in figure 1 of the staff report, this map shows the regional systems in relation to the amendment site. The Lake Marion Greenway Regional Trail is located near the middle of the site and it connects with the Vermilion Highlands Greenway as you travel east and as you connect with the Vermilion River Wildlife Management Area and the Vermilion Highlands Regional Park. Both are spectacular parts of the regional systems, and if you haven't been to either place, I highly recommend a trip out to Wendy's District to check it out, especially the regional park. Next slide, please. The amendment proposes to re-guide a little over 80 acres for mixed use, which is a commercial residential designation, high density residential, medium density residential, and park open space to a new configuration of low medium density residential and medium density residential. The purpose of the amendment is to accommodate the development of 141 single family lots and 6 lots for 8-unit multifamily structures for a total of 189 units. The site also includes 26.8 acres of park and open space. The amendment site is generally located south of County State Aid Highway 50, east of Eaton Avenue, and west of Pilot Knob Road. Next slide, please. As shown as figure 3 of your staff report, the amendment shows a mix of uses. The top image is from the 2040 plan for the city of Farmington and shows a mixed use of commercial industrial on the northern portion of the site, the pink area, and also some medium and high density residential parcels as well. The bottom image shows the city would like, and also to change this medium to medium density and this low medium density designated uses. As I said, the application is proposing to develop the property of 189 units. And sorry, next slide, please. Table 1 from the staff report shown here illustrates the impact of the amendment on the planned residential density in the city. The amendment results in a slight decrease in the overall density from the city from 3.17 to 3.1 units per acre. The proposed amendment decreases the city's inventory of land guided to support the development of low and moderate income housing. And with this amendment, the plan is no longer consistent with the council's housing policy plan. I want to note here that communities found inconsistent with the council's housing policy plan may not draw down funds awarded via Livable Communities Act programs. Farmington is a current participant in the LCA but has no current outstanding awards to draw down. Next slide, please. The finding for you today is the proposed amendment conforms to regional systems, is inconsistent with council housing policy, but consistent with the other remaining council policies. The findings also say that the amendment is compatible with the plans of adjacent affected jurisdictions. Next slide, please. The proposed action before you today is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the City of Farmington to place its comprehensive plan and amendment in effect, find that the amendment does not change the city's forecasts, find that the amendment renders the city's comprehensive plan inconsistent with the council's housing policy, and the city is therefore considered not in good standing for purposes of Livable Communities Act programs. Next slide, please. Furthermore, to advise the city to be consistent with the council housing policy, the city needs to re-guide additional acres expected to develop in the 2021 to 2030 decade and to a land use with a minimum density of 12 units per acre, or raise the minimum density of existing land use to 12 units per acre to accommodate a minimum of at least 120 additional units. And finally to implement the advisory committees and the review record for parks, wastewater, forecast, housing, and natural resources. Chair Lilligren, I'm available for questions at this time.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Welling, for the report and for your work on this. Committee members, questions on that report? Councilmember Bento.
I don't have a question, but curiosity got me. And even though I have an Italian surname, ciao is about the limit of my Italian. So I looked it up, and vita attiva means active life or active lifestyle. And I think that's a pretty cool name for such a development. So kudos to whoever was creative enough to come up with that. And Councilmember Wolf, please pass on my applause for the name.
Thank you, Councilmember. And if there's no discussion, I'd recognize Councilmember Wolf for a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the staff report.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second? A second.
Vento seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any discussion? Any discussion? Well, here, Councilmember Wolf, I thought you were going to give us one of your travelogue reports on the goings on around this property.
Well,
It looks like...
That's on the edge of the developed part of town, so there's not a whole lot of things going on.
Okay.
Near there is some land that Hy-Vee bought, and the city has been anxiously awaiting for a grocery store, but Hy-Vee is taking their own time, and that's led to a lot of frustration with people calling City Hall and saying, "Where's my Hy-Vee?" And City Hall feeling very helpless about it because although it's been approved, the business can develop at whatever
At
pace it
its
wants to.
pace. Well, thank you for that info. We have a motion and a second before us. Any further discussion? Further discussion. Hearing none, Michelle, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That motion carries, and we have dispensed with our business items and our entire agenda for today. Director Barajas or Michelle, anything else for this committee?
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
well, I was gonna say, go ahead. I don't have anything, so please go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to provide a friendly reminder that our next CDC meeting is the Tuesday after Labor Day. Don't
Right.
come on Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, and I'll second that. Yeah, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, because we're at information on the agenda, I really appreciated the email that Terry Smith sent out to all of us, reminding us that it's Affordable Housing Month and our advocacy really matters every day of the year, but certainly with our congressional delegation. And I remember, and Councilmember Cummings will remember this, and I think Chambliss was with as well, but we took some time to meet with our congressman in the 3rd District, Dean Phillips, a couple of years ago, maybe already. And I don't know if this group would be interested in meeting in small groups with our congressperson, maybe over the next, given amount of time, or trying to just set up a meeting. Certainly the month will expire before we can have an in-person meeting. But I think that was very valuable, not only for the congressmen, but their staff, so that they know the issues that we're working on in the trenches. And so I just, if our group from 3rd Congressional would like to maybe get together again, and others, I think that'd be a good idea based on the timing of our respective Congress people. So I don't know. I'm happy to start a conversation with the staff in our congressperson's office, and maybe get everybody together again if others would want to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, there's just so much going on in the world, right? And yet right here in our backyards, they need to really continue to hear from us at the Met Council as their partners in trying to solve for affordability and equity throughout the region and our state. The only other thing I'd like to just say is, this will probably be somewhat of an unpopular position, and I'm not a hardliner, but for somebody who's worked on affordable housing during my entire career of public service, I'm getting a little concerned about this one-size-fits-all zoning that's being proposed at the legislature. I don't want to get into it now, but some of the things that worry me are that one-size-fits-all zoning or one-size-fits-all decisions generally don't serve us well, even though the intentions are absolutely laudable and wonderful. And I know that we, of course, are reviewing and approving or accepting for approval comp plans across the region. But I just want to note that zoning alone, just like everything, there's no magic wand or silver bullet in the work that we're doing. And by doing a one-size-fits-all zoning can actually go counter to the work that a lot of us in affordable housing are trying to do. And especially when I see that they're going after the planned unit development zone, the PUD zone, that's where we found some of our greatest success in the city of Plymouth, because we could cater and figure a zone that worked exactly how we needed it to. It could be mixed use. It could take into account some environmental problems that were taking place on site. We could put the densities that needed to happen in order to secure funding, at least have the best chance of secure funding. So I hope my colleagues will kind of have a conversation with their local elected officials in their cities about this matter. I know that there are a lot of communities out there that I just want to tell you, one of the tools we used in Plymouth was, instead of giving high density zoning across the board in places that we did want affordability, we actually held back that zoning and we made them prove it to us. And then we would give it, because in Plymouth, you could put high density zoning in place and you'd get extremely high rents. It was all market rents. There's nothing that we could do that would mandate affordability went in. And as we all know, based on even the conversations on the agenda tonight, unless there's money available, any zoning, one size fits all program is not going to solve the problem. So I just want you to know that there's two sides to that coin, and I encourage everybody to have a discussion with your local officials. I've just seen so many people throughout the region, including the suburbs, which seem to be a lot of times the target of this, working fearlessly to do this. And Beacon is trying to place them, and others are trying to place affordable units that provide opportunity for all people. So I was a bit disturbed about that. I don't know if correlation necessarily is causation. I'm sure there are cases where the NIMBYs didn't want zoning to be approved for a certain affordable project, but once again, I just want to state that I just want to be careful of what we ask for, because we may get it, even though the intentions again are very highly commendable, and don't disagree with that at all. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me a moment of time to express my thoughts.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Councilmember. Further discussion, Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to provide an information item that today was a good day in District 10 because we had a groundbreaking for Amber Union. And you may recall this is 125 units of affordable housing about a block from me in Falcon Heights. And I wish Abdi was here because of his important reminders about the need for larger apartments for larger families. And I think it's something like 45 units out of the 125 will be 3-bedroom apartments. So pretty decent size. Met Council kicked in close to $1 million to improve this contaminated building, which is the old Harvest States building, Cenex Harvest States. It's like that iconic building on Snelling and Larpenter that's been there since 1948. The best example of Art Deco architecture around. Anyways, it was a great day. Ramsey County kicked in money, Met Council kicked in money, the state kicked in money, the city kicked in TIF money, private sector cash. So it's a great partnership, and it's going to be wonderful when it opens in a year. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember, for sharing that great news, and congratulations to your district and to the whole region for this development. I've been wondering what's going to happen at that site for a while. It is iconic, as you say. Oh, anything else, committee members? Anything else? Seeing no further business before this committee, we're adjourned. Enjoy the evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Have a good week.